Hello, in today's video I'm going to talk about the California Proposition 65 label on chocolate and whether you should consume chocolates or any product for that matter that contains that label on its packaging. To start, what is the California Proposition 65 label? This label is as a warning, stating that a product can expose you to chemicals including lead, which is known in the state of California to cause cancer. For more information, go to www.p65warnings.ca.gov. There are other variations of this warning, but it will generally indicate that it's a California Proposition 65 warning. This warning is also known as the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act and was established in 1986. It requires California to have a current list of chemicals known to cause cancer or birth defects. As of today, there are over 800 chemicals on that list, both man-made and naturally occurring in soil. This law requires businesses in California to publicly notify consumers if any of the listed chemicals are in their foods or beverages. Businesses outside California don't have to provide the Proposition 65 warning on food packaging, but they do follow the federal guidelines on toxic metal limits, which are less stringent than California Proposition 65. Honestly, I've only ever seen the Proposition 65 warning label on two food products thus far, one not being chocolate, but on a natural raw almond bulk food product. The other was on the chocolate brand Eden Evolved, which I've recommended on this channel. They never had the Proposition 65 warning on their packaging, but the statement was on their website. I recently visited their website to locate the statement and it's no longer there. So I don't know if high levels of metal in their chocolate is a problem or if they decided to remove the label since they are a New York-based company and technically are not required to include the label on their packaging or website. Anyway, California established MADL, which stands for Maximum Allowable Dose Levels, for companies to aim for or stay below when it comes to the levels of metals, specifically lead and cadmium, in their chocolate products. Lead is a naturally occurring element that can significantly harm one's health at high levels, especially children and pregnant women, since it can disrupt brain development. Cadmium is another natural element, primarily found in soil. It's considered a cancer-causing agent. With California's Proposition 65 warning, exposure to lead must be below or equal 0.5 micrograms per serving and below 4.1 micrograms per serving for cadmium. It's important to note that these metals and others are present at different levels in many natural and processed foods such as carrots, coffee, tea, spinach, and whey protein. Ultimately, they are unavoidable since trace amounts are in nearly every food grown in the soil. And though many of these items have small or negligible amounts of these metals per serving, these metals accumulate in the body, so the goal is to reduce or eliminate your consumption of food and drinks known to have high levels of these toxic metals. The reason why the California Proposition warning label is associated with many chocolate products is because chocolate, specifically dark chocolate, generally has high levels of lead and cadmium, as discovered through recent tests done by the nonprofit foundation As You Sow and the National Confectioners Association, NCA. They explained in the 2022 report how these metals get into chocolate and shared the results of their 3-year investigation. How these metals accumulate in the chocolate is through soil and air. First, the cacao plants or cocoa trees absorb the cadmium metals from the soil during the growing stage. The lead absorption occurs during the harvesting stage when they are drying in the sun. The dirt and dust that passes through them by air is often contaminated with lead. Measures can be made during the harvesting state to reduce metal contamination, and this report made recommendations on that. Not only was the goal of the report to present the issue of metal contamination in chocolate, but to pose solutions on improving harvest and manufacture practices to ensure the cocoa beans are kept clean to reduce lead exposure. This included practices that would prevent the cocoa beans from coming into contact with soil and aerial dirt deposits, and practices to remove contaminants from cocoa beans during cleaning, roasting, and deshelling. Other recommendations are blending cocoa beans that have low and high cadmium levels together to reduce overall metal content, and as a long-term solution, changing the soil composition. Working towards effective, viable solutions to reduce lead and cadmium is an ongoing effort among industry members, as you sow, farmers, and scientists. Touched on earlier, the effects of toxic metals in the body are serious and no level amount is safe, though it is impossible to prevent any toxic metals from entering the body in the current time we live in. Large amounts of lead and cadmium in the body is harmful to anyone's health at any age, but two groups these metals impact greatly are children and pregnant women. For children, high levels of cadmium and lead, those exceeding the California MADLs, over a long time can disrupt brain and other types of development. For pregnant women, these metals can pass to the fetus and affect their development as well. Generally, lead and cadmium can promote high blood pressure, immune system suppression, and damage to the kidneys, nervous system, and reproductive system. Lead is specifically linked to several neurological impairments, learning disabilities, seizures, and low IQ. Cadmium is specifically linked to reproductive, kidney, liver, and bone damage, as well as impairments of neurobehavioral development. As previously stated, California's maximum allowable dose level is 0.5 micrograms for lead and 4.1 micrograms for cadmium per serving. The FDA, as well as the EFSA, European Food Safety Authority, are less stringent on maximum levels of these metals in food and drinks. The FDA does have interim reference levels, IRLs, for lead, which they recommend to businesses. Their levels are much higher than California Proposition 65 requirements. There are 2.2 micrograms of lead per serving for children and 8.8 micrograms of lead per serving for women of childbearing age. Though these levels are much higher than California's, they are much lower than the level of lead that would be dangerous in the body. There are no official federal limits beyond the California Proposition 65 thresholds, so I have yet to find IRLs for cadmium. There are many chocolate products and brands that were tested for the cadmium and lead levels. I will share a handful of some here, but I encourage you to visit the links in the information bar to see even more. Some of the links share over 400 products tested for cadmium and lead. This can serve as a reference when choosing chocolate that has low levels of toxic metals. Some chocolate products with high levels of cadmium and lead are Hershey's Special Dark, mildly sweet chocolate with 265% lead levels of California's MADL, Hu Organic Simple Dark Chocolate 70% cacao with 210% lead levels of California's MADL, Alter Echo Organic Dark Chocolate Classic Blackout 85% cacao with 204% cadmium levels of California's MADL, and Trader Joe's Dark Chocolate 72% cacao with 192% lead levels of California's MADL. But some chocolate products tested low for these metals, such as Ghirardelli Intense Dark Chocolate 86% cacao with 36% lead and 39% cadmium levels of California's MADL, Taza Chocolate Organic Deliciously Dark Chocolate 70% cacao with 33% lead and 74% cadmium levels of California's MADL, and Mast Organic Dark Chocolate 80% cacao with 14% lead and 40% cadmium levels of California's MADL. Generally, the higher chocolate content the product had, the higher metal levels it contained, with exceptions to the three previously mentioned. So the all-important question remains, should you consume chocolate that contains the California Proposition 65 warning label or chocolate at all? I say yes, but with a disclaimer. If you love chocolate, then the issue of metals shouldn't stop you from ever consuming chocolate again, but do so with caution. From As You Sow investigation and report, it doesn't matter if the chocolate is organic or not. Even chocolate made with the healthiest and simplest ingredients can have exceedingly large levels of toxic metals, as the Hu chocolate bar illustrated. Because the metals are in the soil from which the cocoa tree grows, and in the air when the cocoa beans are drying in the sun, it's up to the grower and manufacturer to minimize or eliminate exposure. At the very least, reduce the levels of metals in the cocoa beans. Nevertheless, harmful metals are in many other foods we eat, especially whole foods derived from the soil. So it all comes down to minimizing the level or amount of exposure. When it comes to chocolate, there are some things you can do to eliminate or reduce the level of lead and cadmium you consume. First, if you're not a huge fan or fan at all of chocolate, then you can eliminate it from your diet. Second, if you can or choose to consume dairy, you can opt for milk chocolate. Milk chocolate has a lower percent of actual cacao in it, so you would therefore consume a small amount. For those who are dairy-free, you can choose a white chocolate option, such as Eden Evolve's white chocolate bar. It's actually made from cashews and only contains 1 gram of sugar per serving. They also have a pink berry chocolate variety that contains 9 grams of sugar per serving. Third, you can choose chocolate with low MADL levels, such as the ones mentioned earlier. You can also check out the links in the information bar, which lists more chocolate products within the California Proposition 65 warning requirements. Fourth, reduce your chocolate intake. If possible, have 1 or 2 servings of chocolate per week. Lastly, very young children and pregnant women may want to consider avoiding chocolate products, especially dark chocolate products, during this stage to safeguard against the harmful effects of lead and cadmium. Dark chocolate has many health benefits, such as essential antioxidants, and are a low-sugar alternative to milk chocolate in some cases, but it's not without its concerns. The key is weighing the good against the bad to decide how much you should consume in your diet if you truly love chocolate, or if there's another alternative that's just as preferred, but less of a health concern. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video valuable, please share so others looking to understand the California Proposition 65 warning in chocolate can discover this video. Like, comment, and subscribe for more health and nutrition videos. And until next time, take care.